I can't tell.
We call it chemo brain. We were talking last night, and I was going to have him go through his testimony to rehearse, and it kind of went like this. Okay, plan B. So,
All right.
this is plan B.
I'm glad everybody's here today. Thank you for coming.
Glad you're here.
Me too.
Okay, so Mike, it's like an interview. What would you say your story is really about?
Faith, trusting God every minute of the day, no matter what the circumstances is.
I know what your first love was. I'm your second love. But what was your first love?
Actually, it was baseball, sports. I played it my whole life up to the time I got cancer for the first time. I did everything 24/7. That's all I wanted to do. My dad came home from work, I played baseball. When my friends wanted to play, I wanted to play baseball. I didn't want to play, I wanted to play baseball every chance I could.
At some point, you were exceeding the kids your age. Talk about that.
I was made all-stars all the time that I played. I played with kids that were older than me, especially when I turned 13. I was playing with kids that were 15 and 16. So that was a little odd because when you're the only 13-year-old playing with 15 and 16-year-olds, you're kind of you fell out of place. But on the baseball field, I didn't feel out of place.
I know you've told me before that your relationship with your dad has been difficult, but what did baseball do for you and your dad?
It brought us together. It gave us a common bond. I think that most father and son want to have, but it wasn't personal. It was sports related. So in a way that was good, but in a way it was bad.
How did it go bad?
It went bad when I started to get better than him, and he was sometimes the male ego starts to get a little hurt, and so it wasn't as fun to play with him when I get a little bit older.
At age 14, he packed up the family and you moved out to Riverside, and I know that was a difficult time for you. Talk about your relationship with God and what was happening.
Me and my sister, she was in high school, I was in junior high, and my parents decided they wanted to move, and we moved out to Riverside out of nowhere, where we didn't know anybody. We're leaving all of our friends, all the kids that we have relationships with, our church friends, everything, and it was not easy for us.
What did you start doing that was different? I mean, you felt isolated, but what did you actually,
I
how did
stopped
that
going to
manifest
school.
itself?
I didn't want to go to school. I felt like my world had changed and I didn't like it. And I didn't know what to do with myself.
Were you still playing sports?
Huh?
Were you still playing sports?
No, not to the extent that I'd love to, and I didn't care.
So this was the first time that you called out to God. Talk about
Yes.
that.
I was going through a lot. I called out to him. I said, I need your help to get me through whatever was going on in my life. I could have gone in two directions. I could have started hanging out with the kids, smoking pot, doing drugs, or could I find a relationship with somebody in my neighborhood in the high school and start playing sports again. He brought a friend in my life then, and I went to the high school, and I met up with him, and we met up with the high school basketball coach, and he asked me if I played. I said I played a little bit, and that got me back in to playing sports again because I didn't want to have a lot to do with it. So it was helped me get me back to where I needed to be.
And I know at that point, you really started playing basketball, but then you found baseball again, and
Yes,
you
I
your
found
stride.
baseball again because of basketball, playing basketball, and getting athletic again, getting back into just doing something that, and being competitive and making friends in that way. So that was a really good thing for me because God had brought that back into my life, which was good because it could have went in a very different direction.
And it came back big time because you were being scouted by professional baseball teams
Yes,
at age 15.
yes.
By
Yeah.
specifically by who?
The Oakland A's and Houston Nationals.
Okay. So needless to say, you were really good. So this is the time when the dream of becoming a professional athlete was starting to take shape.
Yes.
It was real.
It was
within
totally
your
real.
reach.
It's what I've always wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else but play professional baseball. And like I said, that was my life. I didn't want to do 24/7. It came back into my life, and I was happy again. I found this love for the game. I never really lost it, but I got it back to where I was just by doing things and playing.
You guys moved back to Anaheim, and you were still playing sports,
Yeah.
and you noticed that you were starting to feel physical fatigue, which was unusual for you. You also had to get a physical for sports.
Correct.
Tell me about what happened.
I was a really good swimmer, and we had to do, swim in the pool to make sure they wanted me to be on the swim team, and I wasn't sure, but I just didn't feel right. I felt fatigued. I didn't know what was wrong. I could run under 6-minute miles. I could swim like no problem, but I felt drained. I felt physically drained, and I didn't know what was wrong.
And you were messing around with your friend Herschel, and he punched you in the leg.
Yes. He punched me in the leg, and it felt like somebody had stabbed me in the leg. The pain was so bad I couldn't walk. I could barely stand on it. I mean, it was awful pain. I never felt pain like that in my entire life. And a lot of things were going in my head, like, what's going on? And I had no clue. I just thought, maybe I was goofing around and I broke the bone or something. Like, it was just like, but the pain was severe.
So between the physical and that pain, you went to the doctor and...
Yeah, my mom made an appointment for me to go into the doctor, and I just thought, it's nothing. I need to get a physical anyways. We had the physical. I went in, and the doctor, checked me out, and then I told her about my leg, and she's all, okay, let me see your leg. So she felt my leg, and she felt something abnormal. So we went, and I had my blood work done. I had an x-ray done. And I found the news that I had a tumor. And at that time, I didn't know. My brain wasn't thinking cancer. I just felt tumor, like, oh, okay, like, so what are we gonna do? Like, how are we gonna fix this? But it wasn't that simple. I didn't realize at the time that it wasn't gonna be that easy.
You were diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a bone cancer.
Yes.
And to stay on task, because we've got a lot of cancers to cover, you just talked briefly about the next 2 years of your life.
I went, so when I found out that I had cancer, and which is really weird is to add to this, is when they took the x-ray, it showed up on the x-ray right away. Like, didn't have to do any deep, tests like a CT or MRI at that time. It just showed right up on the x-ray. And it looks as if somebody were to take, like when you shave your head and you have all those hairs that come out, well, that's what the tumor looked like. It was like somebody took the bone and just shaved the bone, and you had all these hair particles coming off the bone. So I did that. I went to USC, had a biopsy done, and I was there for a couple weeks. I came back, and they told me I had, that's when I found out that it was actually Ewing sarcoma. It could have been one of two cancers. And at that time, it was Ewing sarcoma, which was the least serious of bone cancers at that time that they knew of. And I started at St. Joseph's Hospital. And the thing about St. Joseph's is there's a lot of old people. not to say, I'm a 16-year-old kid in the hospital with a lot of old people who, and you just don't feel like you're in the right place. So I told the doctor, yeah, I can't do this here. So he ended up sending me over to Chalk Hospital, and I went to Chalk Hospital, and this is old Chalk. This is when there was only, 3 stories, 4 stories in this small hospital, and we had our own floor, and they told me, I met my doctors, and they told me I was going to do a lot of, sorry, getting confused, but I did a lot of tests.
Let's talk about the chemo and the radiation.
And then come to find out that I was in such good shape that they could give me the maximum allowable. So I was getting 100% toxic chemo along with the maximum radiation.
Which was 30 rounds of radiation.
Over 30 rounds of radiation and over 2 years of chemo.
That's important because the radiation comes back to haunt us later.
And at this time, I had no clue of what I was in for. Like, I thought, oh, I can do this. And I went from, during this time, I went from about 195 to 200 pounds to about 145, 150 pounds. So it ravaged my body.
Talk about the stress it put on your family and your relationship with God at this point.
Now, I went to church every Sunday, we prayed, and we prayed really hard that God would heal me. And I think in the process of Him not just taking it away, we felt that that God didn't answer our prayer. Like it was like God didn't listen to us, or God didn't do what He said He would do, because when you pray, you're supposed to, when you believe, you're supposed to have Him take it away. But that's not always how it is. But at this time, I didn't understand that, and our family was going through a lot, and we didn't understand that. And two things happen when you go through that at a young age. It's either your family gets closer together, or it tears it apart. Well, it tore ours apart. And it tore us apart in a big way. It ruined my relationship with my dad. Absolutely ruined it. He didn't understand it, and I don't know if he didn't want to understand it, or he was hurt because God didn't answer him. But he went in a pathway that I wouldn't recommend.
So you're a teenage boy, and you're basically in and out of the hospital. No high school dances, no girlfriends.
No girlfriends.
No typical high school life.
Not your typical high school life. And it wasn't typical for my sister or my brother at all. My brother was 10 years old at the time, and it didn't. And my dad was supposed to be there, if not for me, just for me, but for him. Because my mom was taking care of me. She was doing her motherly thing. She was taking me to my doctor's appointment. She did everything she could for me. My sister supported my mom. She helped her whenever she could. But at that age, at those ages, it's a lot of responsibility to take on. And nobody knew how to handle it correctly. And it left my brother in a very bad place at 10-year-old. And he got pushed to the side. He was the one that got pushed to the side the most because he was the youngest. And it's not how you want to handle it, but that's how it happened. And you can't go back and you can't change it, but that's how things happen.
We're going to jump a little bit ahead.